Over the years, the African National Congress has reiterated its objective to renewal and accountability. Delivering last year's January 8th statement, party leader Cyril Ramaphosa said it remains the party's number one objective, emphasizing this would help provide decisive and ethical leadership in the resolution of the country's problems. Now, how far has the party gone in achieving this renewal and accountability objective? A political analyst, Professor Lesiba Teffo weighs in on this. Prof, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Greetings to you and the viewers.
I wanted us to potentially start off the conversation looking at where this program started and why it is that the ANC thought it fit to introduce it. But I wonder increasingly what it wants to renew itself to. Which version of the ANC is in mind when the ANC speaks of renewal? Maybe let's start there.
Well, it's a loaded concept, renewal or transformation, and a word I really feel has been immensely corrupted in this country. I think, to their credit, I would say it's a recognition that the glorious movement is no longer what it used to be. In terms of performance, in terms of sector, in terms of perception out there, there is sufficient evidence that it is no longer what it used to be. Nostalgic as they seem to be, they think they can restore or retrieve yesteryear's glory. Instead of being worried about that, let them ask them what matters most. Why are we where we are, and what can we do? And that's where they are failing dismally. For as long as they are still defined and their policies are undergirded by failure to manage migration, failure to discard cadre deployment, failure to do away with BEE. And I repeat, it's time we talk about inclusive economy, because BEE is also what brought them where they are. It was intended. Let's be clear. The intentions are always noble. The devil is in the implementation. And some of us predicted you are not going to win if you go this route. And that's where they are. And when they talk renewal, I don't see them putting up programs that speak to what I'm talking about. And I've been on this one for far too long. And again, if they want to cleanse themselves, to get rid of the leeches, the careerists, the opportunists, the compradors, maybe it's time they accept that the Electoral Act must be changed, even if it might lead to loss of power, but they will remain with men and women of integrity whose bona fides, their loyalty to the party would not be in question.
Prof, you raised some important aspects and points that have led the ANC finding itself in a position to consider ideas such as renewal, BEE being one of them. You did mention cadre deployment. Now, there is growing consensus that it is this very cadre deployment and patronage that have cemented a culture where leadership positions are essentially bought at conferences. We've heard this many times. So does this then lead the ANC to genuinely reflecting on the political will to dismantle these money-driven influence? Or is the renewal program unable then to touch the financial interests that actually determine who stays in power?
Look, too many words full of fury signifying nothing. They keep talking, and incidentally, these days they are talking to themselves because people are no longer listening. People are not. And that's why they are not even coming there to the stadium, because they know that they are going to talk to themselves. They are not responsive to the cry of the people on the ground. The existential experience of the people on the ground is at variance with the policies they advocate. It's saddening to me. And it was indeed then and even today when the president was willing even to go to court in defense of cadre deployment. Keep doing that, but the people will meet you when it matters most, on that fateful day when they have to put their cross somewhere.
A lot of people, Prof, may be at odds with you for saying that it is BE. I mean, you mentioned that it is time for South Africans, as particularly ANC, to be honest about its economic policies, BE being one of them. Just tell us what you meant then by saying that the ANC needs to relook its position on BE.
Oh, yes, no doubt. I was opposed to it. You see, the devil is in the implementation. The fundamental principle and the ideas behind that are noble. Let me be clear, are noble. But it's when you come to implement. After 30 years, I'm sure there are very few who differ with me on this one. We are in this mess as a country because of that. Because it's this BEE that would lead to tenders that are meant to enrich the political elite and those associated with them. The people are much wiser today, dear, than they were 30 years ago. The verbiage, the rhetoric, the anachronistic ideological orientation that they still want to pursue is not consonant with the age in which we live today. Out there, many might be very angry. How could he say we must get rid of BEE? Yes, I repeat, let's work towards an inclusive policies, especially economic policies. You to tell me that you have got about 100 rand on the side for black industrialists, I no longer believe in those stories because I know where that money is going to be. I know where it is headed, where it is going to end up. It is going to end up in the hands of the already empowered rather than the small man on the ground.
Prof, then would it be fair to say let's re-look at the mechanisms, through which policies such as BE are implemented, rather than the policies themselves and what they aim to do? You did mention that they are noble and certainly are aimed at redress, which is still an ongoing and important element in getting society to where it needs to be.
Yeah, I also am averse to the word redress, because in the name of redress, we have destroyed functional institutions, state-owned enterprises, functional citrus plants, farms, in the name of BEE, in the name of redress, in the name of restitution. Where did the land go, right? Land was taken, was given to the political elite. Let's reconceptualize, let's rethink, informed by the negative experiences of the past 30 years. Look, today, I said it then, I can repeat. They must begin to look for a new terminology, a new nomenclature that doesn't seem to be repulsive to the people. Because once you say redress, restitution, expropriation, people just close their ears. They are no longer interested in it. I heard Mbalula saying this morning, we are going to expropriate without compensation. You don't need even, what is this? 2/3 majority. The legislation say, Section 25 was there for the past 30 years. They lacked the political will to do the right thing. Where they did, they shared the spoils among themselves. People are much smarter, are much wiser today than they were 30 years ago. Hence, you see the numbers you do in the stadium today.
All right, Prof.
Perhaps I want to make this point.
Sure, go ahead.
There is a point I want. Yes. When I talk about stop cadre deployment, stop BEE, and the spirit is there, keep the spirit, but the implementation is something else. I am for inclusivity. I am for black and whites working together, lest they perish together as fools. I see a man by the name of Dr. Groenewald. Go and look at what that man has achieved in the past few months when he was in office. He beat almost all the ministers who were there. Just in 12 months, how much has he achieved? restoring, right, those farms that were there under correctional services, supplying bread today baked by the prisoners themselves. The prisoners are tilling the land, are feeding themselves. And he says, I saved 27 million rand by just baking bread through the prisoners. Those are the type of people I'm prepared to vote for. Those are the type of people I want to see them lead the country, regardless of the color of their skin.
Professor, say we give the ANC the benefit of the doubt and say, that part of their renewal program is that they have been able to assess the lack of implementation of their various policies, and hence they've put together this renewal program. Now, the Integrity Committee's predecessor, for example, is the Disciplinary Commission, right? And this is where the DC led to the ousting of individuals such as Julius Malema, Floyd Shivambu from the party. They then implemented the Integrity Commission, which really does not necessarily have any punitive measures. Does this yield any consequences, the Integrity Commission? And what happened to the Disciplinary Committee?
Yeah, when I talk about reconceptualizing some of the modus operandi of the ruling party, do they need that Integrity Committee? Of what consequence is it? What did it serve, right? It's just a contentious unit that, for me, is at no value. In fact, it even divides them more. You know what they should have kept and lived by is that seminal document, that important document called through the eye of the needle. The things like the Integrity Commission, those are the averse to today. Because I don't think anybody still believes that it serves any purpose. And I don't cast any aspersion on the people who are in the committee. Just in and by itself is worthless. It doesn't help them at all. It adds to their division. Where it matters more, as long as there is no consequence management, you talk and talk and talk, then what's the point? And after all that, then you have the Zondo Commission. And then the president has the audacity to get the Chief Justice to swear in the people implicated in malfeasance. And then you say, something is not right in the land of my forebears.
If you were to say, Professor, lastly in closing, that there were two things that the ANC needs to say with regards to its renewal program today, what would those two things be?
Maybe look for a new terminology, a new nomenclature that may be appealing to the people, because this other terminology, right, is alienating, is repulsive to the people. It has lost luster and sting, and hence you see what you see there. And two, I would say not all is lost. Not all is lost. There are still good men and women of integrity in the ANC. Those are the people they must consider, give them positions. But if they are still going to fight and give us what they know the people don't want, a day of reckoning will soon be with them come at the end of this year. They have about 10 months to try to turn a corner, to try to convince the people, but not with the rhetoric of yesterday.
Lots for the ANC to think about there. Professor Lesiba Teffo, thank you very much for your time today.